Trump's press secretary unleashes a blazing takedown, shredding the media's vicious lies about Dan Bongino and his bold new role at the FBI. In a fiery showdown, she exposes the elite's desperate smear campaign, calling out their hypocrisy, corruption, and fear of a patriot who won't bend. This isn't just a press conference. It's a declaration of war on the swamp's propaganda machine. The truth burns hot and they can't handle it. Like, subscribe, and share. For more activity, Trump's press secretary exposed the media's lies about Dan Bongino and the FBI. It's March 25, 2025, and the political world is buzzing louder than a beehive kicked over by a bear. Donald Trump is back in the White House, and his administration is wasting no time shaking things up. One of the biggest moves, naming Dan Bongino, the fiery conservative podcaster and former Secret Service agent, as the deputy director of the FBI. The announcement came just a month ago on February 23rd, and ever since the media has been in overdrive, spinning stories about Bongino like he's some kind of loose cannon set to burn the FBI to the ground. But today, Trump's press secretary steps up to the podium and sets the record straight, calling out the media's distortions with a ferocity that leaves no one in doubt. The lies about Dan Bongino and the FBI are about to be torched. The press room is packed. Reporters from every major outlet, CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, you name it, are crammed in, notebooks ready, cameras rolling. They've been hammering Bongino for weeks, painting him as an unqualified outsider, a Trump loyalist with no business near the FBI. Articles have claimed he's a conspiracy nut, a guy who spent years trashing the Bureau on his podcast, The Dan Bongino Show. They've dug up old clips where he called the FBI corrupt and irredeemable, saying it should be disbanded immediately. They've even twisted his appointment into a narrative about Trump weaponizing the FBI against his enemies. It's a full-on assault, and the press smells blood. But Trump's press secretary isn't having it. She strides to the microphone, her eyes sharp, her voice steady, but edged with fire. She's not here to play nice. She's here to fight. Good afternoon, she begins, her tone cutting through the room like a blade. I'm not going to waste time with pleasantries because you all don't deserve them. For weeks, you've been peddling lies about Dan Bongino and his role at the FBI, and it's time to call you out. You've twisted the truth, smeared a good man, and tried to undermine this administration's mission to fix what's broken in Washington. Well, guess what? We're done letting you get away with it. The room erupts. The reporters start shouting questions, but she holds up a hand, silencing them with the glare. No, you don't get to interrupt me today. You've had your turn. Now it's mine. She leans forward, her voice rising. Let's start with the biggest lie you've been pushing, that Dan Bongino is some unqualified hack who's only here because he's Trump's buddy. That's garbage, and you know it. Dan spent years as a New York City cop on the streets, risking his life while you were sipping lattes and typing hit pieces. He served over a decade in the Secret Service, protecting presidents from both parties, including Obama. He's got a master's in psychology and an MBA. This isn't some random guy off the street. He's a patriot with real experience. And you're terrified because he doesn't fit your little elitist mold. A reporter from CNN jumps in, voice dripping with sarcasm. But what about his podcast? He spent years attacking the FBI, calling it corrupt. How can someone like that lead it? The press secretary doesn't flinch. Oh, you mean the podcast where he told the truth? Yeah, let's talk about that. Dan Bongino didn't just attack the FBI for fun. He called out what millions of Americans already see, a bureau that's lost its way, that's been caught up in political games instead of doing its job. Remember the Mar-a-Lago raid in 2022? The FBI storming Trump's home over classified documents while ignoring Hunter Biden's laptop? Dan exposed that hypocrisy, and you hated him for it. He's not wrong. The FBI's trust with the public is in the gutter, and he's here to clean it up, not kiss the ring of the old guard. The CNN reporter pushes back. So you're saying it's fine for the deputy director to have trashed the agency he's now running. That doesn't sound like leadership. It sounds like revenge. She fires back, her voice booming. No, what's not fine is you pretending the FBI is some sacred institution above criticism. Dan's not here for revenge. He's here to fix it. He said it himself on his show last week. The FBI belongs to the American people, not the swamp. You don't like that because it means real accountability, not just more cover-ups for your pals in DC. And let's be real. You're not mad he criticized the FBI. You're mad he criticized your narrative. The room gets louder. A woman from MSNBC stands up, her tone sharp. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's pushed election fraud lies, said the 2020 election was stolen. How can someone like that be trusted with national security? The press secretary doesn't miss a beat. A conspiracy theorist? That's rich coming from the network that spent 4 years screaming about Russia collusion with zero proof. Dan questioned the 2020 election because millions of Americans did, because there were irregularities like mail-in ballot chaos and last-minute rule changes. He didn't say it was stolen out of thin air. He pointed to facts you ignored. And by the way, the Institute for Strategic Dialogue called him a key figure in election fraud claims. Your own side admits he's influential because he's speaking what people feel. You just don't like that he's not afraid to say it. The MSNBC reporter snaps. Facts. He's been banned from YouTube for COVID misinformation. He's a loose cannon. The press secretary laughs, a sharp cutting sound. Oh, please. YouTube banned him in 2022 for saying masks don't work. Guess what? Studies since then back him up. The CDC's own data shows cloth masks were useless against COVID. He was right and you were wrong, but you'll never admit it because it doesn't fit your script. And loose cannon, the guy's been cool as ice under pressure. Secret Service doesn't keep hotheads around for 12 years. You're just mad he's not one of your puppets. A guy from the New York Times stands up, calm but smug. Look, the FBI deputy director has always been a career agent. Bongino's never even worked there. How can he run it with no experience? She zeroes in on him. Experience? Let's talk experience. The last 3 deputy directors, Paula Bate, David Bowditch, Andrew Cockade, all career FBI guys. Where'd that get us? McCabe got fired for lying under oath. The FBI spied on Trump's campaign in 2016, botched the Russia probe, and let political bias rot the place from the inside. Career agents don't mean squat if they're part of the problem. Dan's an outsider who's seen the system from the ground up. NYPD, Secret Service, years calling out DC's mess. He's not tainted by the FBI's failures. That's why. He's perfect, the Times reporter presses, but he's a Trump loyalist. This looks like a political takeover of the FBI. She, loyalist? He's loyal to America, not a party. Trump picked him because he trusts him to get results, not play politics. You want to talk takeovers? How about when Obama's FBI ran Crossfire Hurricane to smear Trump? That was political. Dan's here to stop that nonsense, not start it. And if you're worried about loyalty, ask yourself this. Why did the FBI fight so hard to hide the names of agents who worked January 6th? What were they covering up? Dan's going to dig that out. And you're scared stiff of what he'll find. The room's a hornet's nest now. A reporter from Political yells, he said the FBI should be disbanded. How's that not a threat to national security? The press secretary's eyes flash. He said in 2022, after the Mar-a-Lago raid, when the FBI looked like Biden's personal goon squad, he was pissed. Well, like half the country was, because the Bureau was abusing its power. He's not here to dismantle it. He's here to rebuild it. Last Friday on his podcast, he said, we need a credible deterrent to spies and terrorists, or we won't have a country. That's his mission. You're just cherry picking old rants to dodge the real issue. The FBI has been a mess, and he's got the guts to fix it. A woman from NPR stands, her voice measured but pointed. Bongino's call for locking up Democrats, Hillary, Obama. That sounds like he's planning to weaponize the FBI against Trump's enemies. The press secretary doesn't hesitate. He said that on his show in 2023, pushing state AGs to go after the Biden family if they broke laws in red states. It was a jab at political double standards. Trump gets hounded, but Democrats skate. He's not rounding up Hillary in cuffs tomorrow. He's deputy director now, not a podcaster. He told his audience yesterday, we're going to reestablish faith in this institution. That's not a guy plotting revenge. That's a guy who wants justice for everyone. The NPR reporter counters, but his rhetoric's dangerous. He's tied to January 6th misinformation. Ashley Babbitt retweeted him 50 times. She fires back, dangerous? You mean like when you guys hyper Russiagate nonstop and fueled division? Ashley Babbitt retweeted him because he was a loud voice for Trump supporters. Doesn't mean he told her to storm the Capitol. He's condemned political violence on his show, said leftists normalized it first. You're just mad he's got a bigger megaphone than you and doesn't toe your line. Guy from Reuters jumps in, voice loud. What about Kash Patel, the new director? He and Bongino are both Trump guys. This is a MAGA takeover, the press secretary smirks. Kash Patel got confirmed last week, 51-49, because he's tough and doesn't mess around. He and Dan are on the same page. The FBI's job is to fight crime, not play politics. You called a MAGA takeover because they won't bow to the swamp. Patel said in his hearing, he's not here for vendettas. He's here to rebuild. Dan backs that up. They're a team, yeah, but not to serve Trump. They're serving the people who've been fed up with DC games. The Reuters guy snaps. But Patel's got no FBI experience either. This is insane. She leans in, voice sharp. Insane? What's insane is thinking the old way worked. Patel's a national security pro, NSC, Defense Department, Intel advisor. He knows the threats we face. Dan's got street level grit. Together, they're shaking up a bureau that's been coasting on autopilot. You don't like it because it's not your club anymore. The room's chaos now. Reporters are yelling over each other, but she raises her voice above it all. Here's the bottom line. You've lied about Dan Bongino because he's a threat to your cozy little world. He's not some nut job. He's a guy who's seen the system fail and isn't afraid to say it. You've called him unqualified, but he's got more real world chops than half the suits in DC. You've said he'll destroy the FBI, but he's here to save it from itself. And you've screamed he's a Trump puppet, but he's answering to the American people, not a politician. She pauses, letting the words sink in. You've spent weeks trashing him because he doesn't play your game. Well, tough luck. He's deputy director now, and he's not going anywhere. So keep writing your hit pieces, keep spinning your lies. It's not going to stop him or us from doing what needs to be done. A reporter from the Washington Post tries one last shot. You're just defending Trump's cronies. This is all about power. She stares him down. Power? No, this is about truth. You've got no proof Dan's a crony, just your own bias. Trump picked him because he's fearless, not because he's a yes man. You want to talk power. Look at how you've twisted this story to protect your own. We're done here. She steps away from the podium, leaving the press corps stunned and scrambling. The message is clear. The media's narrative about Dan Bongino is crumbling, and Trump's team isn't backing down. For the next hour, the airwaves light up. Pundits on CNN call it a disgraceful attack on journalism. MSNBC says it's proof of authoritarianism. But on X, regular people are cheering. Posts flood in. Finally, someone's calling out the media BS. Dan's the real deal. Let's go. The divide's never been sharper. Meanwhile, Dan Bongino himself isn't silent. That afternoon, he takes to his podcast his last episode before stepping away for the FBI gig. His voice is calm but firm. They're mad because I'm not one of them, he says. They've spent years propping up a broken system, and now they're scared because we're tearing it down. I'm not here to play nice with liars. I'm here to make the FBI work for you, the people. That's it. Back at the White House, Trump's watching. He posts on Truth Social. Dan Bongino is exposing the fake news for what they are. Losers. Great job by our press secretary today. The FBI will be stronger than ever. It's vintage Trump, and it only fuels the fire. The media doesn't let up. Over the next few days, headlines scream. Press secretary's tyranny signals Trump's war on press. Bongino's FBI role sparks outrage. They double down digging for dirt, but the press secretary's words stick. People start looking closer at Bongino's record, his time as a cop, his Secret Service years, his unapologetic stance. Some still hate him, but others see a guy who's not afraid to take on the establishment. By the end of the week, Bongino's in his new office at FBI headquarters. He's already meeting with Kash Patel, laying out plans. They're not talking revenge. They're talking reform. Patel's pushing to refocus on crime fighting, not political probes. Bongino's digging into operations, asking hard questions about January 6th, the pipe bombs, the old cases that got swept under the rug. The rank and file agents are wary. Some resent the outsider, but others respect his no-nonsense vibe. The press secretary, meanwhile, isn't done. At the next briefing, she's back at it. You tried to bury Dan Bongino with lies, she tells the press, but he's still standing, and so are we. Keep crying about it. It's not changing a thing. The battle's just beginning. The media is scrambling to regain control of the story, but Trump's team is relentless. Bongino's not just a name now. He's a symbol of the fight against a system people don't trust anymore. Whether he succeeds or crashes, one thing's for sure. The lies about him aren't sticking like they used to. And that's got everyone, from the press to the swamp, on edge.